Pericles and Athens by A.R. Byrne. The Golden Age of Greece, seen through the life of her leading statesmen. Chapter 5. The Years of Conquest. The fall of Cimon thus made no immediate difference to the two leading features of the Athenian policy: consolidation of the Delian League and war with Persia. There was no clean sweep of Cimon's colleagues. If they were loyal to the democracy, no one at Athens could have seen any reason why there should be, and among Pericles' colleagues in the next 5 years there continued to figure prominently Myronides and Leocrates, who had been generals under Aristides in the Persian War, and there was never any serious attempt to restore the Areopagus, whose lost powers were too obviously an anachronism when wielded by an assembly of land-owning mediocrities, owing their position to the luck of the draw. And the veteran Aeschylus, in his last great trilogy, the Agamemnon plays, pleaded for moderation and reconciliation. In his usual topical allusions, he celebrated the Furies, which he must have been composing in the 460 to 459 for performance in 458. The divine establishment of the Areopagus as a court to try homicide, previously the function of the Democrats, had not taken away. And he also took the opportunity to introduce some lines in celebration of the alliance with Argos. And I wish they showed this in Greek so I could pronounce it right. This little thing at the end here. But something that should become apparent is people act according to their beliefs or lack thereof. And therefore, in calling for a secular state, it's pretend. Those who are Christians or of other faiths in office are obviously trying to lean things more towards their way. So it is important what faith a politician claims to have, because there's stuff in that faith that would be good or bad for the country if things leaned that way. And even more so than any sense of a theocracy, the idol of the state becomes, they're inspired, they're this, that, and the other, and that's not what it means. Maybe the founding fathers of America had copies of the George Sale translation of Quran, particular Bible translations, some stuff from the Buddhists and the Hindus, as you would call them. But, does that make them inspired? No, they were with ideas. They were philosophers. I'm sorry, I accidentally squeaked the table there. He might be approaching 70. There was nothing senile about Aeschylus. He was as daring and experimental as ever. Indeed, in the same play, he made his chorus of Furies, the demon avengers of blood, so horrible and, so to say, realistic that they caused a panic in the theater. And so remember that video I did, turtle mythology, the number 70, and I a naming ceremony for the turtle in which the turtle comes out. So I do a lot of number symbolism: 666, 777, 888, 999. 1,000, 1,001, or 1,010, 1111, 1212, 1313, 1414, 1515, 1616, 1717, 1818, 1636, 1919, 2000, 2012. What other ones did I do? Aeschylus' attitude to the politics of 460 BCE was typical of the landed gentry of his day. Even the old marathon fighters who had followed Aristides, and now Pericles had won them over to democracy, all but a few. There were secret societies like that which had compassed the murder of Ephialtes, men prepared, if the chance should offer, even to sell out to Sparta, but the majority, like Pericles and the many aristocrats, even clansmen of Cimon, not with a K, whom we shall find serving with him, had accepted the new order. Pericles' own example must have influenced many. It was to take a decade of disaster, long after Pericles' death, to give oligarchy even a brief and fleeting success in Athens, with Thasos and the ill-starred attempt to help Sparta liquidated. The Persian War could now be resumed where Eurymedon had left it. In 460 or 459 BCE, a full league fleet of 200 galleys once more set sail for Cyprus to rout out the Phoenician cities in that mainly Hellenic island. Then two things happened, both, as it seemed, gifts of the gods to Athens, Megara, hard-pressed in war by Corinth, and seeing that Sparta, with the Helot War on her hands, was in no position to call her allies to order, applied for Athenian protection, and in Egypt a Libyan chief named Inaros raised the Delta country in revolt against Persia. The Athenians, with their superb self-confidence, for which no undertaking seemed too ambitious, grasped both opportunities. Inaros' appeal for help came to the fleet when it had already reached Cyprus. Such a chance seemed too good to miss, and the generals sailed for the Nile with their whole force, routing a Phoenician squadron. In a battle on the Nile, they pushed up the river, joined hands with Inaros, helped him to capture Memphis, the capital near modern Cairo, and sat down to a long siege of its citadel, the White Castle, while part of the fleet raided Phoenicia, the base of the enemy's naval power. At home, the assembly accepted Megara's application, and Athenian troops garrisoned Megara and Pegae, its western port. For the first time, Athens controlled a port on the western sea, a source of high hopes for those who already dreamed of making her as powerful in the west of the Greek world as she did already was in the east of it. Greek world as she already was in the east of it. Okay. The general's chief anxiety was that Megara, which was a good mile from the sea, might be cut off by enemy land forces. The solution adopted was to build a pair of parallel walls from Megara to the harbor of Nisaea, opposite Salamis, and to garrison them with Athenians. The idea, once projected, was obviously a good one, for the Greek armies, especially Spartans, were absolutely impotent against stone walls. Not long afterwards, the Athenians started the far greater enterprise of building their own long walls, from the city down to Piraeus and Phaleron, distances of 5 and 3 miles respectively, to secure for the city something like an advantage of an island position. The alliance with Megara meant war with Corinth, once friendly to Athens, as a counterpoise to Aegina, but henceforth a bitter and dogged enemy. While Sparta's hands were full, it seemed to Athens also a good opportunity to try to control the Argolic Peninsula, which would give short and secure communication with friendly Argos itself. Troezen, on the tip of the peninsula, connected with Athens by old ties of friendship, came into her alliance during these years, if not before, and in 459 an Athenian squadron rounded Cape Skaleon and attacked Haliais, the fishermen, a little town on the south coast with a fine harbor. The operation miscarried. However, the enemy had evidently got wind of the expedition, and the landing party was driven off by troops from Epidaurus and Corinth. Yeah, never destroy alliances because you just want to conquer more. That's not right, but it seemed to be standard. This move brought Epidaurus into the war. This important secondary state clung firmly to her alliance with Sparta and Corinth out of fear of her neighbor. Argos, lying as it did on the shortest route between Argos and Athens, the town became the objective of the repeated Athenian and Argive attacks, but held out stubbornly against them. The next episode was a naval engagement in the Saronic Gulf between the Corinthians and the Athenian home fleet. An Athenian victory, in spite of the absence of probably a good 100 Athenian first-line ships with the League fleet in Egypt, and at this, Aegina, her government evidently realizing that her opportunity to break Athens' grip on the Gulf was now or never, joined Corinth and Epidaurus. Athens, in turn, called in contingents from her allies. It is significant that she could still rely on their loyalty under the democratic governments which she fostered for a war against the Greeks. It was a struggle of the united Ionian versus Dorian sea power. And in a pitched battle off Aegina, the Athenians won a sweeping victory, capturing 70 ships, and following up their success by landing troops on Aegina to blockade the town. Corinth and Epidaurus tried to reinforce Aegina, but the Athenians, led by Leocritus, moved so fast that only 300 managed to slip across before the blockade was complete. The time to deal with Pericles' eyesore of the Kyrios had come at last. And so here we have the number 70 again. And remember from my order of 9 angles responses that Ionian and Dorian are types of music as well, which I'm sure came after all this. Crippled at sea, the Corinthians struck back on land at the only possible at Megara, hoping that with the great armament still away in Egypt, the Athenians would at least have to withdraw Leocritus' army from Aegina to save their ally. But the Athenians did nothing of the kind. Their last reserve, boys of 18 and 19, veterans between 50 and 60, men hitherto left at home as unfit or on civil duties, everyone could carry as a shield in battle, marched to Megara under Athens, other great veteran general Myronides, joining these to the troops of Megara. Myronides beat off the Corinthian attack, and the Corinthians, foiled in their desire to besiege Megara or devastate its olive groves, picked their dead and retired home. When they had gone, the Athenians left in possession of the field, and considering rightly that they had won a strategic victory, set up a trophy according to the Greek custom. But this was not the end of the matter. The Corinthians, on their return, found themselves the victims of such barbed taunts from their old fathers and uncles as having been repulsed by an army of dotards and babies, that after about 12 days they decided that they had not been defeated and would go back and set up a trophy to prove it. The result was disastrous, for the Athenians burst out from Megara against them, cutting down the men who were in the act of setting up the trophy, assailed the rest who had not been expecting a battle, and drove them away en route on the road to Corinth. Nor was this the worst, for a large party of them took a wrong turning and found themselves in a cul-de-sac, a piece of private ground surrounded by a ditch and having no other exit. Myronides promptly blocked the entrance with his spearmen and surrounded the place with his light-armed troops, who shot the whole force with sling stones and arrows, a serious blow at Corinth's limited manpower. Yeah, there's a huge. What's that man on the hill? What's the game that some people used to play? You know, you made your way up the hill, and the boy who fought his way to the top got to be that, and maybe he held it for a day or two, and then someone else came in, and so just to have monuments, we won this battle, and of course people are going to turn back around if you're not fighting a just war. The people of those lands are not going to concede. Things are going to get kind of bad.